All right, so the DJ is on point. I'm catching a lot of the Glassdoor chatter. Everybody watch the Glassdoor playlist. So Glassdoor playlist people, we've got Chameleonaire in the house. People are getting fired up. So yes, more of that, please. And by the way, I do a few of these things from time to time. When you get introduced by the voice of God, that's fun. Does anybody have any idea of what the voice of God actually looks like? Anybody? Oh, well, yeah, Morgan Freeman, okay, the backup voice of God, the B team voice of God. So I can't do a full description, but what I can say is he has an amazing mustache. That's all I'll say. Okay, so we're getting ready to kick things off for round 2 of this morning's sessions. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff in store. As a reminder for questions, so if you have questions for any of the speakers you're about to see, the conclusion of this morning's afternoon or this late part of this morning's session is going to have Q&A that Rusty Roof is going to lead. We're going to bring back all of the presenters, and they're going to answer your questions. So if you have questions, no, I'm not going to tell you to use the app because you get that now. What I am going to tell you is we probably didn't give you a lot of great guidance on how to use the app. Just make a status update with your question. And we'll be monitoring that. That's how we'll actually pull your questions and bring them to the crew. And my people on live stream, again, GD Summit, that's your hashtag. That's where you ask your questions. JT is on it. When the morning session wraps, you're actually going to go back to JT for another session where she's going to be interviewing some more of the speakers and answering more of your questions. So with that, I would like to introduce our next speaker. Next speaker is going to be Lisa Smith-Strother. Lisa is the Senior Director and Global Head of Employer Branding and Diversity Talent Acquisition for Ericsson. Small job. She's been in that field for nearly 10 years with them. She's been in that role and working across Ericsson's social and digital careers channels over that time. With over 15 years of marketing experience in the financial service industry, she's also held roles with American Express, NatWest Bank, and Bancorp Bank as VP of Strategic Marketing, and so clearly she's got a little bit of experience in this field. And it's always great, I think, when we hear people actually coming from the marketing discipline that are now very focused on employer brand and bringing that rigor and expertise into recruiting. Not only that, but she also loves dogs, which gets her even more cool points by me. So please join me in welcoming Lisa to the stage.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here this afternoon to speak to you about the role of social advocacy in diversity and recruitment, as well as employer brand. So just to tell you a bit about Ericsson before I get started, we are going through a transformation from telecommunications to information, communications, and technology, as well as software services. And that's important, and you'll hear why in a moment. And over the past, really, year and a half, almost 2 years, we have really revamped or enhanced our employer brand strategy to fully integrate diversity and inclusion in our value proposition messaging, as well as to reflect our transformation. So what we've done and currently are doing is we have connected with and really engaged with our employees to help them help us craft our voice so that our voice could be more authentic and inspirational about diversity. And that really, over time, has enabled us to attract and engage more diverse segments. So ultimately, Ericsson is viewed as more desirable and appealing to that segment. So a bit about me. I have only been at Ericsson for a little over 2 years. I've been doing employer brand for 10 years, and yes, prior to that I was doing financial service marketing. And my role oversees the social and digital careers channels, as well as diversity recruitment and diversity branding. And I absolutely love marketing, and I'm so happy to be doing that in the employer brand recruitment marketing arena. So a bit about Ericsson. Ericsson is shaping the network society. How many of you have heard of Ericsson? So how many of you have heard about Ericsson phones? Okay, so Ericsson is well beyond cell phones. As I said before, we're shaping the network society through connecting businesses in media, in cloud, in IT, in industries, as well as the Internet of Things. And that's by providing the connectivity, the expansion, the software services, so that many of us can use our many smart devices today, as well as broadband. And how do we do that? Well, Ericsson, we are the developers of Bluetooth. We are a global company, as I've mentioned before. We also have over 115,000 employees. We operate in 180 companies. And if you have used your mobile device today, you most likely have used an Ericsson solution, because over 40% of all mobile traffic uses an Ericsson network. So speaking of networks, we actually build networks deep in the Amazon as well as in megacities, really impacting the GDP of countries. So pretty big impact. And then lastly, we actually were selected as the vendor to deliver the HD and software solutions, the video solutions for the Olympics. So Ericsson is much more than cell phones. So when you look at the chart right here, this tells you a little bit about our employees. The 30% at the top, that represents that we strive to have 30% of our employees be women by 2020. The 40%, that reflects the percentage of our employees that are under 35. So it's really important how we communicate to millennials as well as women. So it's about how we engaging our employees, and particularly our women and our millennials, to be featured in video interviews or quotes across all of our channels. The 86% represents the percentage of our employees that are represented by all of the nationalities of the world. So 86% of all the nationalities of the world, our employees are represented by that. And then lastly, the 89%, that represents the percentage of people who said that they are very proud to work for Ericsson. So Ericsson is global. We have a diverse universe, or a diverse set of employees, and very highly engaged employees. And we really want the world to know about that, and we really use our employees to serve as advocates across our channels to do that. And we're happy to say that we also have received some awards regarding our employer brand. So we see this certainly as a recognition, and like I said, we're happy about that. But we also see it as a challenge. So as we transform and grow and improve, we hope to receive more. So let me set the stage again. So as I said, Ericsson is undergoing a transformation from telecommunications to ICT, or information communications technology, and software services. So it's really important that we're seen as a global ICT and software service company, not a telecommunications company, as well as we're seen as a global ICT transformational partner. So what that means is we have to modify our communication. So not just our communication to our businesses, society at large, our customers, but also to our employees. And part of that is to really implement our employer brand voice, and that's U plus Ericsson. So U plus Ericsson gives our ability to voice all the great things about Ericsson across our various channels, but it also gives our employees a voice as well. So what you're looking at now is our infographic. So I've talked about U plus Ericsson being our brand statement. So our infographic represents a really accessible tool, primarily for our recruiters to use, for them to be able to really speak consistently about what Ericsson has to offer. So it highlights our employer brand promise. So it talks about us being global and empowering, and you can see the others in the top left. It also talks about our values and the behaviors of success. So when people come, they need to know what we expect of them when it comes to behaviors. And then to the right, it also talks about what our differentiators are, or our value proposition, our sustainability, your ability to really manage your career. And then, of course, it has our compass on there about our mission and vision. And then lastly, it has our brand statement of U plus Ericsson. And it talks about the appreciative value that our employees have when they're coming to Ericsson. And you'll see also that we have an app there, and we've made it even more accessible so that employees can have it right at their fingertips. And the goal here is that when employees are at events, or if they're at a party and someone asks them about where do they work and what does that company do, they have a tool there right in their hand so they could really speak consistently and really refine their pitch. So late last year, we really wanted to look at a theme or a strategy, if you will, to really help us convey that diversity message and really focus on the U of U plus Ericsson to really enable our employees, as I said sort of at the beginning, to help them really convey our message as well. And so we launched a campaign called Ericsson Sees the Real You. And I said the purpose here was to focus on the U. And then we launched a lot of activations. One of them was called a cultural e-journey book. So we gave our employees an opportunity to provide us with their perceptions of Ericsson, as well as what appeals to mostly everyone, and that's food. So they were able to share with us what their favorite recipe is, in addition to what their perceptions are about Ericsson. And we didn't want to call it a recipe book because it was more than that. It allowed us to reveal the cultural side of Ericsson in a really engaging and entertaining way. And then we created a great deal of excitement and employee engagement by creating a number of I say soft as well as social media covers so that our employees could use them on their own social media networks, right? So, and there were 30 different options covering all different ethnicities. And in addition to that, they were able to really make it custom to them. So you can see perhaps how it says Ericsson sees the real you, but they were also able to talk a little bit about what they like. So it might say, I enjoy reading, I love dogs, I like to travel, Ericsson sees the real me. So they could really personalize it. And what that did is not only did it reveal a lot about them, but it also allowed us as Ericsson to resonate with all different types of people. So we created excitement with social media as well. We also showed the various images that we offered across social media. We also promoted the fact that we'd had a cultural journey book across Twitter. And we also did, which has proven to be quite successful, we did a number of Instagram takeovers. So we looked at our employees across the globe that were diverse as well and asked them to take over our Instagram. So we gave them guidelines and said, we want you to take various pictures of what you're doing in the morning, what you're doing in the afternoon, what you're doing throughout the day at work, as well as when you go home. Maybe you stop off at the gym. And then we asked them to provide us captions for all of those pictures. And those Instagram takeovers have revealed a lot about sort of what it's like to work at Ericsson. In addition to that, we got our employees involved by them telling a story. So we asked them to upload their images, again, to upload more perceptions about Ericsson on a map. And this enabled us to really show just how global Ericsson is. And they loved it. You can see we had a number of countries that participated. Our diversity sentiment that we regularly analyze and trend was over 70% positive. We also had impressions, over 8 million. Our engagements, you can see how large they were, over 282,000. And our clicks were over 250,000, and it was very cost effective. So in seeing how successful this campaign was, we really decided to use this theme, Ericsson Sees the Real You, throughout our campaigns throughout this year, and that's what we're doing right now. So this says your career is shaped by the difference you make. So what we really look to do is just continue to foster engagement to get our employees to be social advocates. So we try to create various opportunities for them to post across our various social media channels, reach out to them for them to get their quotes, for them to share with us what they're doing relative to their career. So one of those activities is Girls in ICT. Many of you may be familiar with that, but for Girls in ICT, what we were looking to do was really engage our employees to say, reach out to some of the girls that perhaps you are mentoring, or find a girl that has an interest in science or STEM or technology and mentor them. And in addition to that, we encourage them to participate in a campaign called Future Selfie so that they could take pictures of themselves with their mentee, and then we put that across social media so they could really highlight their activity with Girls in ICT. In addition to that, many of you are familiar with Girls in ICT and perhaps have visited their international page. And what we've done, we have a careers blog, which has proven to be successful when it comes to attracting women in particular. But on a careers blog, we invited over 25 young girls and asked them specifically why they like science. And it performed very well because it enabled us to have a more authentic voice from a girl's perspective. And in addition to that, one of the blogs that were submitted was actually picked up on the International Girls ICT page. So these are the type of activities that we do in an effort to integrate, obviously, our empowerment of women and the empowerment of girls in ICT. For International Women's Day, you might recall that the theme was a pledge for parity. So what we did was we asked a number of our female leaders, as well as some individual contributors, to basically host and talk about their experiences of Ericsson, their career at Ericsson, and we asked them to create that in a podcast format, and we uploaded that on our portal. So you might be asking, so these are a lot of things that you're doing for your employees, but what we also do is we showcase all of this activity that our employees are doing, serving as advocates, across all of our social and digital media channels. Because part of the transformation is to integrate all of these activities into our social and digital media so that others can see it, and really start to foster that, that culture and workplace of how we embrace diversity. For World Day for Cultural Diversity, music, usually everyone enjoys that, right? And certainly the playlist for Glassdoor, I'm sure many people are inquiring about this, but we had our own playlist. So we invited employees to upload their favorite music, and in addition to that, we put that in a particular region that they were in, and then they were able to vote for their favorite playlist by region. And again, this got people involved and engaged with something fun, and we shared that across social media because it shows the softer side of Ericsson and makes us more appealing. And you can see the positive comments that we received. Again, music is universal. So when you think of on-site events, obviously many of us have participated in, whether it's Glassdoor or IEEE or Watermark. But what we do is we don't necessarily limit ourselves to those events. So I don't know if many of you are familiar with WeBank, but we also look at other areas of the business. So WeBank is an opportunity to engage with women entrepreneurs, and we reached out to them and participated in that event. And part of that was to ask them to tell us why diversity was beautiful. So the activation was, they basically wrote on that card, they took pictures of it. Again, we put that across social media. We have our employees highly engaged. We also talk about our sustainability development goals commitment, and we put that in a roulette wheel. So a lot of our activities are all in an effort to showcase a different area of Ericsson and also to engage the followers as well, to show a different side of Ericsson. So getting the word out. So you've heard about all of the different activities that we've done, or some of them at least, with our employees to engage them. And we've talked about social media. So clearly social media has been sort of the driving force. So in addition to the people who serve as our key and very important advocates and all of our careers channels, but social media really has been proven quite successful to push out the messages and the various activities that we've done. And recently we've introduced and really trying to lean on the popularity of comics. Comics are quite appealing to millennials. They have high recall, and they are fun to look at because they give sort of a visual view to your voice. So we've introduced some comics to help us across social media to further reveal a bit about Ericsson, and I'll talk about them later on. So we do a variety of posts across social media. We do activities when employees are having events in their office, if they're at Pride events. Typically when we're at events, we'll do promotions across social media to highlight speakers or to highlight the fact that we're at that event. For our influencers, Simone Gertz, she's known as the queen of certain types of robots. We've used her as well in some of our promotions also. For Black History Month, we highlighted key individuals who are African American and ask them for their quotes. So you can see from here that there are a number of opportunities where we really use our employees to help us craft our voice and also for them to be social advocates. Career virtual chats, I don't know if any of you have done those, but they have proven successful as well. So we have interviewed our interns, and they're done by actual employees, and for Facebook in particular has proven quite well. I believe at one point we had over 16,000 views, and we were quite surprised ourselves with the results there. I've already talked about the value of Instagram takeovers and how successful they have been for us, again, revealing different individuals and talking about some of the things and activities that they do. And then gamification. Certainly, all of us are probably familiar with the trend of gamification and how popular it is. So we've incorporated some games that talk about basically empowering women. So it asks about women in technology, and we also have other games that try to target those that are in software development and also to highlight our support of the sustainability goals. So all of the activities that I've mentioned have to do with social advocacy and really using our employees and helping us to really convey the Ericsson message. But you really need a platform in order to be really optimize that. So we recently launched our social advocacy platform, and it's doing quite well. And not only does it have Ericsson branded content, but it has third-party content. So it's really important to curate that content. I'm sure many of you who perhaps use a social advocacy platform know that not only is it good to improve the brand awareness of the company or the thought leadership of the company, but it also helps with employee engagement and employee retention. It also helps with building the employees' thought leadership, as well as opportunities with social selling. And so some of the things that we will continue to look at are the shares and the impressions. And as we do a pretty substantial promotion, we look to have more and more of our employees become more engaged. So I just want to quickly talk about this campaign because since we recently received the CIPD Recruitment Marketing Award, this actual activity was cited for why we received that. So it wasn't this recent, but within last year, we did this campaign, and it was a little bit of old school, a little bit of traditional media, and a little bit of guerrilla marketing. So we identified certain businesses that we wanted to target in support of a campaign when we were looking to recruit a really diverse audience. So we identified those businesses. You can see the map to the left. You can see the targets on them. We had this mobile billboard strategically drive in front of those businesses and just pause there a moment. just to create some inquiry and interest in that area. And what we did is we integrated social media. So we sent out social media posts to essentially say and let people know, hey, we're going to be at 9th and Arnold. Come check us out and take a picture. We also provided pictures of the billboard in the ad. And of course, we talked about the roles that we were looking to recruit. And we also used LinkedIn's Work With Us ad, that tile, to complement the ad and the theme that we were doing as well. In addition to that, we created a microsite so people could go there and see the recruiters talk about the role and to hear more about what that particular area looked like. And lastly, we created some social media covers similar to what I did with what I shared with you with Ericsson Sees the Real You, but we did that for recruiters so they could put that on their LinkedIn profile to really complement the campaign as well. And so it was successful. I mean, it generated a significant amount of traffic. We had certainly more applications in that very competitive market, and we were quite pleased with the results. So with all that I've mentioned, we do clearly see a positive change. We have done some gender washing of our platforms, and you can see the various platforms that we have there that we wanted to gender wash. And the purpose there was to ensure that our message was gender neutral, that it wasn't heavily skewed to attracting more men than women. And you can see the result. It's clearly more skewed towards the pink and more towards the center, which is certainly favorable. So the takeaway here is that if you're not already, it's really important to regularly monitor and track the traffic to your various channels by gender, because you want to make sure with all the effort that you're making that it's resonating correctly to that audience. I mean, we use certainly Glassdoor, and we regularly look at how our traffic is changing when it comes to followers that are women. As I mentioned, we have a careers blog. We know that over 50% of our subscribers to that are women. We know a high percentage of our followers on Facebook are women. And we even track the percentage of traffic that are women to our career site. So as you're doing various campaigns, that's something you really want to be mindful of. So looking to the future, I'm just going to end with some other things that we're doing. So I want everyone to pay attention, not to imply that you're not already, but there's going to be a treat for you, so listen up. So we recently did a campaign. So I've talked about a lot of the activities where we really actively connect and look to gain the opinion of our employees, because that's important. I mean, we need them, as I said before, to help us craft our voice. So for this campaign, though, we actually reached out to our followers and asked for their opinions. So we had 8 different variations of designs, all in an effort to really confront and dispel gender stereotypes relative to women in technology. So this contest asked our followers to vote for their favorite design. The 4 you see are the winning designs. And what this did was, as I said, it really allowed us, it gave us some authenticity as well, but it allowed us to express our view and our value of having women in the workplace. And as I said before, just to dispel the gender stereotypes around that. And so this is what I want you to know. So I will say the first 5 people who use hashtag Ericsson Careers along with the hashtag for today, GD Summit, right? I think it's GD Summit 2016. We will send you a sample of these stickers. All right? So the stickers, you can use them as bumper stickers. You can use them on your laptop or any device. You can also go to our ericssoncareers.com and actually download them and have them as a backdrop for your desktop. So this has proven to be quite a lively and interactive contest because, as I said, we received quite a few comments as well regarding some of the stickers. So candidate care, we have to remember that, and we've talked, hopefully you've made the connection about the employer brand and then protecting your brand. But we have to remember that the experience of the candidate and your brand and your employer brand doesn't end when the candidate is done with their interview experience. So what we have partnered with CareerArc to launch Candidate Care. So many of us are familiar with this scenario. We have a number of candidates come in to us to apply for roles. Very few are offered the role. And then the rest of them, the vast majority of them, are exited out the system, those that are declined. And in most cases, we don't really engage or interact with them at all after that, right? But the recruitment process, as I said before, doesn't end when the candidate is rejected. So with Candidate Care, and we're really excited about this, but with Candidate Care, we still have we still have people come in. Unfortunately, those that don't get offered, they are declined, but they're not exited out the system. They are directed to a platform that I would like to describe as a self-help candidate platform. This platform tells them how they can improve their interview skills. It talks about how they can improve their personal brand. It talks about how they can improve networking and communication. So our purpose behind this is to really showcase our commitment to help a candidate all the way through the process. And also, we would hope that with that positive experience, they would share that on social media. And we also know that when that happens, that people, when they see things on social media, they really value that much more tremendously than if it's coming from a CEO or from the company. So, as I said, we're quite excited about this, and we aren't even limiting it to those that have been declined. We are launching a really aggressive social media campaign that's going to run upwards of 6 months to introduce this to other segments, including diverse segments, to really, again, talk about the value of candidate care as well as to improve our personal brand ability. So, in the long run, not only does it help our personal brand, but we may also get some referrals as a result of that. So I talked about the comic characters and what we hope to achieve with them. So Ericsson was founded 140 years ago by Lars Magnus Ericsson, and he was married to Hilda Ericsson, and both of them were pioneers. Now, Hilda was very involved in the business. She was a tester and really part of the development. And the reason I mentioned that is because we will be using Hilda and Lars throughout social media. You can see examples of the post there, but particularly Hilda to enable us to really strengthen our voice when it comes to the empowerment of women, and particularly the empowerment of women in ICT. So we really see, again, this is an opportunity to engage with the millennials and really sort of ride that wave of the attractiveness of comics in media. And we also have introduced, and she's actually being debuted today, Mia. And Mia is our person of color comic character, and she's to be represented by an employee of Ericsson, a current day employee of Ericsson, who is a software engineer. And we see her also being able to speak and engage with that audience, particularly in that space. So, as I said, this is a sort of a modern look of Lars and Hilda in particular, and we really hope to use them throughout social media. In fact, right now, their posts are outperforming some of our higher posts. And lastly, just to remind you that next month is Diversity Awareness Month, and we certainly will be celebrating it. I encourage you to go to Ericsson Careers and to see how our employees will continue to be advocates for this year for Diversity Awareness Month. So that concludes my presentation. And no, it doesn't. I forgot the takeaways. Okay. All right. So the takeaways, and I have a minute left. So the takeaways are, we certainly want to be innovative. So hopefully you've gained a great deal for how you really can reach out and connect with your employees and have them help you craft your voice. Also to allow your employees to promote your brand along with you and have them do it in their own voice. Because if it isn't in their own voice, then it's not going to be authentic, it's not going to be that appealing, and then ultimately it won't be that desirable. So that is officially the end of my presentation. But this has really been a blast. I hope you all have enjoyed it as much as I have. And I wish you all a wonderful day and excellent rest of the day for the week for the summit. Thank you.